Let's talk to Matt Swift. It says here that he's a whiskey consultant based in Leamington. Matt, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm sure I used to have an uncle who used to put down on forms that he was a whiskey consultant as well, but I'm not quite sure what that meant. What does it mean, a whiskey consultant? What do you do? I mean, you have to know about all the different types of whiskey then, do you, I guess?
Indeed. I've been in the industry 25 years now, and I arrange tasting events, and I consult with bars and hotels and restaurants as to how to organise a whiskey list.
It sounds to me, is this a hobby that turned into a job?
I think the key to this is you need to find something you enjoy doing and then turn it into a job, of course, yes.
Right, and so presumably 25 years ago you were as keen on whiskey as you are now.
It's something I've learned as I've gone through the industry, but I find it a very, very honest drink, and the palate, you learn to develop a palate with the whiskey. So this is something I like to try and share with my customers and clients.
Of course, whiskey isn't exclusively Scottish, though, is it? I mean, I know, as you know, having Irish heritage, the debate rages about Irish whiskey and whether it's better than Scotch whiskey or not as well. What are your thoughts on that, first of all?
Well, yes, that is a very, very good point, especially with the referendum in mind. Yes, Irish whiskey was probably the first country to distill whiskey in the then British Isles, although that's
was that legally or not? Or
more of a clerical fact, yes. Legally,
oh, right, okay.
Bushmills was the first legal distillery
Bushmills, was it?
in the British Isles.
My
yes.
brother's a massive fan of Bushmills.
Yes.
I'm not a whiskey drinker, but he raves about the old Bushmills Irish whiskey.
It certainly has its followers. There are obviously many other good whiskey distilleries in Ireland, but
and is there any thought that the referendum, depending on what the vote is, could impact the whiskey industry in Scotland? Is that something you've heard? Or
it will have a massive impact on the industry, of course. Yes.
Go on, tell me how.
Well, firstly, taxation, and inevitably, the tax will have to go up on whiskey and with other products, of course, not exclusively whiskey, but that will be the first major impact.
So it'll make the product more expensive.
Certainly.
Could open the door for people then to maybe explore and investigate Irish whiskey or change their taste and move away from Scotch whiskey.
I'm sure that will be one of the follow throughs of the price hike. Of course, whiskey is produced all over the world, particularly North America, but Japan make very good single malt as well. But I don't feel that anyone has really got the depth and breadth of stock as Scotland has.
And whiskey that's made in Scotland, what is it that makes it so special? Is it water predominantly?
The ingredients, of course, are the key point to the overall taste of the whiskey. But also in Scotland, they have the heritage. They have father to son, generation to generation distillers who have learnt over centuries how to make a unique product.
Because I just wonder what's to stop distilleries saying, come on then, let's all move to Northumberland or Carlisle or something like that. They'd still have their name, they'd still have their heritage. They just geographically wouldn't be in Scotland. Would that work?
To some degree, yes. We're talking a big science kit with a distillery. It's the old adage that little boys never grow up, their toys just become more expensive.
Right. So you're not going to move it on a Friday and have it set up on a Monday, is what we're saying here, if you move a distillery, first of all?
No chance at all. We do have a fantastic distillery, actually, in England, St George's Distillery in Norfolk.
Right.
But the stocks there are still very young, although incredibly good quality. We won't really see any aged whiskey there for years, obviously. You can't force the aging process.
And that's the point, isn't it? Is that because it is a drink that goes through a process, and that process takes a certain amount of time, then any, as you say, you were talking about whiskey supplies and stocks that people have. So any whiskey that's been made, that's got to kind of, pardon the pun, but filter through, hasn't it, really? So what you make today, you might not be seeing for 10, 15, 20 plus years' time, might you, really?
That's absolutely brilliant. That's exactly the scenario we've got here. Scotch whisky, you are drinking history. This is most distilleries will have typically, say, 4 age statements that they are producing for the general market. But all these distilleries have casks at the back of a warehouse that have been aging for. I think the other year Malt came out with a 60-year-old whiskey that the Japanese, the Americans can't
Couldn't
do
touch,
this.
could they? No, because you just haven't got the 60 years, as you say. You can't buy time. Is the industry saying anything about the referendum? Are they making significant noise? Are they?
They're being very quiet north of the border, and
why would you think that is? You would think if you're right, and if it has the potential to impact their business and to open up other markets and maybe even drive their customer base away. Do you think in the back of their mind they're secretly thinking, actually, this will just make it even more desirable and the prices going up won't really be an issue?
There is a lot of truth to that, of course. Scottish whisky drinkers will always drink Scotch whisky, or they will always seek out Scotch whisky. They're not stupid people, and they won't be parted with their money too easily. And likewise, I don't think the Scots will look at taxing this into oblivion.
No. You want to make money off it, but you want to keep the industry there. I've got to ask you a final point as well, because I've always wanted to know the answer to this. I'm not a whisky drinker at all, but with water or without water?
That is the question I get asked the most commonly. Very much personal taste. I tend to dabble with it myself. Some whiskies are better with, some without.
But it's not sacrilege if you put water in?
Certainly not water. I'd probably draw the line at Coca-Cola, but...
Good to talk to you, Matt. Good luck with your future business. What a great job. Matt Swift, who's a whisky consultant based in Leamington.